A massive white shark came up to a diver. Then the unthinkable happened. The ocean stretched endlessly, a vast shimmering world of blue. Sunlight pierced through the surface, casting beams of light that danced in the depths. The water was calm, yet beneath its serene exterior lay a world of mystery, a place where the unexpected lurked in the shadows. Michael Reynolds adjusted the straps on his diving gear, taking a deep breath as he prepared to descend. The rhythmic sounds of his own breathing filled his ears, steady and familiar. He had spent years exploring the ocean, capturing its beauty through his lens. Yet every dive carried a sense of the unknown. The sea was unpredictable, and today something felt different. The boat rocked gently above him, its engine now silent. The world above was distant, fading away as he slipped beneath the surface. The water enveloped him, cool and weightless, a familiar embrace. Schools of fish darted past their silvery bodies, catching the light. Michael moved slowly, his hands steady on his camera, scanning the reef below. Coral formations stretched like underwater cities, teeming with life, yet something was off. The unusual symphony of the ocean, subtle movements, distant echoes, felt muted. The fish swam erratically, their movements sharp and sudden. He had seen this kind of behavior before, but only when something large was near. He turned, scanning the water, his heart beating a little faster. Then he saw it, a shadow moving just beyond his line of sight. Welcome back to PlotTwister. Before we unravel today's mystery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you're always in the loop. His breath caught. The shape was massive, gliding effortlessly through the deep. It was too large to be a regular fish, too deliberate in its movements. The figure circled, staying at a distance, just out of reach of the fading sunlight. Michael's grip on his camera tightened as the shadow emerged from the blue. The great white shark came into view, its sleek body cutting through the water with terrifying grace. It was enormous, larger than any he had encountered before. Its black eyes locked onto him, unreadable, ancient. The moment stretched silent and still, as predator and human faced each other in the deep. Michael remained motionless, his breath slowed, controlled. The shark didn't rush toward him, didn't turn away. It just lingered, watching. Every instinct screamed at him to move, to retreat, yet he held his ground. The ocean, vast and endless, had suddenly become much smaller. The water wrapped around Michael like a cool, silent cocoon as he descended deeper. The further he went, the more the world above faded. The light from the surface dimmed, stretching into long, shimmering beams that barely reached the ocean floor. His breath was steady, controlled, each exhale releasing a stream of tiny silver bubbles that drifted upward, vanishing into the blue. He moved slowly, scanning his surroundings. The coral below spread out like an underwater metropolis, its ridges and caves sheltering all kinds of life. Brightly colored fish darted in and out of the rock formations, their movements quick, jittery. Something about the way they swam caught his attention. Their usual rhythm, smooth, effortless, was broken. They were restless, unsettled. He had seen this before, but only when something large was nearby. A flicker of movement in the distance pulled his eyes to the open water. A shadow. It was faint at first, blending with the deep, a mere distortion in the endless blue. Then it moved again, slow, deliberate, too big to be just another fish. Michael felt the weight of the moment settle over him, the slow realization that he was no longer alone. His grip tightened on the camera as he floated in place. The shadow grew larger, its shape sharpening as it glided closer. It wasn't rushing, wasn't aggressive, but there was a presence to it, something that made the water feel heavier. The sunlight caught its side for just a moment, and Michael saw it clearly. A massive great white shark. It was unlike any he had encountered before. Its sheer size was enough to make his pulse quicken, but it was something else that made his breath hitch. The way it moved, it wasn't just passing through. It was watching him, studying him. Michael remained still, his body tense but controlled. The shark circled once, slow and steady, its black eyes locked onto him. The ocean, vast and endless, suddenly felt much smaller. There was no cage, no barrier, nothing but the thin line between control and chaos. The shark turned slightly, shifting course, but it didn't leave. It stayed, lingering just beyond reach, as if waiting. Michael exhaled slowly, keeping his movements minimal. He had seen sharks before, but never like this. Never this close. Michael barely moved, his body weightless in the water, his breath controlled but shallow. The great white loomed before him, close enough that he could see the rough texture of its skin, the faint scars that marked its body like battle wounds. Its powerful tail swayed gently, keeping it steady, balanced. It wasn't charging. It wasn't retreating. It was simply there, watching him. The shark's eyes were black, unreadable. They held no malice, no fear, only a quiet, eerie intelligence. It circled once, slow and deliberate, never breaking eye contact. Michael's pulse hammered in his ears, but he forced himself to stay calm. Panic had no place here. Panic could turn a moment of stillness into disaster. As the shark glided past, its sheer size became even more apparent. It dwarfed him, its bulk moving with impossible grace. The sunlight barely touched its back, casting a shadow that stretched across the ocean floor. Michael could see every detail, the rows of serrated teeth just barely visible as its jaws parted slightly, the way its gills flared with each measured breath. For a brief moment, time seemed to stretch. Nothing moved except for the slow rise and fall of Michael's chest and the steady rhythm of the shark's movement. The water between them felt thin, fragile. He had encountered sharks before, even great whites, but never like this. This wasn't a fleeting glimpse. This wasn't an accidental crossing of paths. This was different. Then, without warning, the shark shifted. It turned, slightly altering its course, closing the distance. Michael's muscles tensed. It was near enough now that he could reach out and touch it if he dared. A low primal fear flickered in the back of his mind, instincts whispering that he was too close, too exposed. But he didn't move. The shark passed just inches from him, its massive head tilting ever so slightly. Then something unexpected. Instead of swimming past, it paused. Not for long, just a heartbeat. But in that moment, Michael felt something he couldn't explain. The shark wasn't attacking. It wasn't fleeing. It was assessing him, acknowledging him. Then, as smoothly as it had come, the great white turned again, circling wider this time. But it still didn't leave. It stayed, watching, waiting. And Michael, suspended in the deep, knew this encounter was far from over. The shark circled again, its movement slow and controlled. Michael held his ground, his heart pounding in his chest. The water felt heavier now, the silence pressing in around him. His breaths came steady, measured, but beneath the calm exterior, adrenaline coursed through his veins. The great white wasn't leaving. It was lingering, watching him with an intensity that was impossible to ignore. Michael adjusted his position slightly, keeping his body as still as possible. Any sudden movement could shift the balance between curiosity and aggression. He had seen sharks pass divers before, but this was different. This shark wasn't just passing through. It was interested, and that interest carried an edge of unpredictability. The great white tilted its head just slightly, just enough to shift its gaze. Then, without warning, it closed the distance. The shift was subtle but undeniable. Michael tensed, gripping his camera tighter. The shark's body was so close now that he could see the ridges along its snout, the tiny scars lining its rough, battle-worn skin. Its mouth remained closed, but its sheer size was enough to make his pulse quicken. Then the unthinkable. Its jaws parted, just slightly, just enough to send a jolt of primal fear straight through him. Michael froze, every instinct screaming. The shark wasn't attacking, but it wasn't leaving either. Instead, it hovered for just a moment, then glided forward even closer, its powerful body barely brushing the water between them. Michael's breath hitched. The shark's tail moved in slow, deliberate strokes, its massive body cutting through the deep without effort. The space between them was nothing now, just inches. The shark was close enough that he could see the darkness of its throat, the rows of serrated teeth that lined its powerful jaws. Then, just as suddenly, it shifted again. It turned, moving alongside him, nudging the camera ever so slightly with the tip of its snout. It wasn't a hit. It wasn't an attack. It was something else. Something deliberate. A test, maybe. A message. Michael didn't react. He couldn't. Every nerve in his body was telling him that whatever was happening here wasn't over. The great white wasn't just observing anymore. It was engaging. The tension hung between them, thick and electric. The ocean had never felt so vast, yet so impossibly small. The great white lingered, its massive body slicing through the water in slow, deliberate movements. It wasn't leaving. It was attacking. It was simply there, impossibly close. Its black eyes locked onto Michael. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, thick and heavy. Every fiber of his being told him to stay calm, but his instincts screamed otherwise. The shark turned slightly, tilting its head as if studying him. Then it shifted course, not away, but alongside him. Its body moving in a way that wasn't entirely smooth. There was something off. Michael noticed it now. The way its pectoral fins slightly dragged, the subtle stiffness in its movement. It wasn't gliding as effortlessly as it should. The realization hit him all at once. His eyes followed the fin, and there it was. A thick rope tangled and tight, digging into the shark's rough skin. It was old, frayed in places, but still strong enough to restrict its movement. The shark wasn't just circling him. It wasn't just watching. It was struggling. Michael's pulse pounded in his ears. He had been locked in a silent standoff with this creature, expecting aggression, expecting a moment of danger. But now everything shifted. The shark wasn't hunting him. It was hurting. The great white turned again, slower this time, its movements hindered by the restraint. The rope wasn't just caught. It was wrapped deep, pressing into the shark's flesh. It had likely been there for some time, maybe weeks, maybe longer. The shark had been carrying this burden, growing weaker, struggling against something it couldn't escape. Michael hesitated for only a second before reacting. Carefully he reached for the small diving knife strapped to his gear, keeping his movements controlled. The shark remained close, its body tense but still. It wasn't running, it wasn't fighting, it was waiting. A deep sense of unease mixed with adrenaline as he lifted the blade, the cold steel glinting in the dim light. The ocean stretched around them, vast and silent, as Michael extended his hand toward the great white, closing the gap between man and predator. The shark didn't flinch. It didn't turn away. It let him come closer. And Michael, steadying his breath, did the unthinkable. Michael moved carefully, his breath slow, steady. The great white hovered just feet away, its massive body shifting slightly with the current. The rope was thick, wound tightly around its pectoral fin, cutting through the rough, scarred skin. Every instinct in him screamed that this was dangerous, that one wrong move could turn the moment deadly. But the shark didn't lunge, didn't retreat. It waited. The knife felt small in his grip, insignificant against the sheer size of the creature before him. With a slow, deliberate motion, he reached forward, his fingers grazing the rough hide just above the tangled rope. The shark twitched slightly, a ripple of movement along its body, but it didn't pull away. Michael tightened his grip, pressing the blade against the rope and sawing carefully. The fibers were thick, resistant. Each cut took effort, the tension in the line making it even harder to slice through. The shark moved again, a slow turn as if testing the pressure. Michael froze for a moment, his heartbeat hammering in his ears. The great white's massive eye flicked toward him, unblinking. It was aware of him, aware of what he was doing. A few more strokes of the blade and the rope gave slightly, loosening just enough to shift. The shark jerked suddenly, a powerful roll of muscle that sent a rush of water past Michael. He held his position, gripping a rock on the ocean floor to steady himself. The rope pulled against the shark's movement, straining. Then, snap. The tension vanished. The rope floated free, twisting in the current like a lifeless serpent. For a split second, nothing happened. Then the great white shuddered, its entire body rolling as if testing its newfound freedom. It turned toward Michael, slow and deliberate. He held his breath, his body rigid, unsure of what would happen next. The shark hovered for a moment, then moved forward. Not aggressively, not in retreat, but close enough that he could see his own reflection in its dark, endless eye. Then with a slow, graceful turn, the shark drifted away. It didn't flee, it didn't panic. It simply left, disappearing into the deep. Its movements smoother, lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. Michael stayed there, watching, until the last trace of the giant vanished into the blue. Then finally, he exhaled. What are your thoughts on the twist we uncovered today? Comment your ideas below. Make sure to like and subscribe for a daily dose of drama and mystery. See you later with another twist.